Welcome to the Careers by Jen podcast, episode 252. On this episode of the podcast, Jen interviews Ariel Garten on how to sleep better and find calm during COVID-19. This episode is sponsored by makers of fine sleep aid and anti-anxiety products available at your local pharmacy. Line up to get inside today. And if the shelves are empty, there might be a guy in the parking lot who will do you a deal.
You're listening to the Careers by Jen podcast. I'm your host, Jen Swanson. This is the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. Careers by Jen is a listener-sponsored podcast, and if you like the content, please consider supporting the show as a patron. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Head over to CareersbyJenn.com and click on Support to learn more. Are you feeling anxious these days? Is it hard to get a good night's sleep? Are you obsessing over the news that comes in and seems to change hour by hour? Are you counting numbers of those confirmed cases and of those who have died? Are you worrying if you have enough supplies in your home? Are you worrying about your family and your loved ones and your friends? Do you find yourself busier than usual in front of a screen and yet not as busy as you were in your former life? And are you feeling stuck, not going anywhere? Have you suddenly learned how to use Zoom whether you wanted to or not? And has your inbox been inundated with suggestions and information on how to spend all this extra time? Are your hands sore and dry from constant hand washing? Are you wondering how this can possibly continue? If you can relate to any of this, then this episode is for you. Ariel Garten has been on the show before in episode 231 when we talked about meditation. Ariel is a neuroscientist, a former psychotherapist, a mindfulness expert. She's a co-host of the podcast Untangle, which I highly recommend. And she is the founder of Muse, a company that offers meditation headbands that monitor your brain waves as you meditate. And Muse has just created a device that helps you to meditate as well as sleep. It's called the Muse S. Ariel says that the value of sleep in times like these is of the utmost, and how you get more of it is of deep interest to her. I hope you find this episode helpful and that you can find some inner peace in these strange and uncertain times. Ariel, I've never had a guest on twice, so welcome back. You're the first.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I really appreciate that you reached out in these strange times and that you and your podcast partner, Patricia, have come up with a toolkit for helping people to find sleep and find calm. And I just wanted to ask you, have you noticed yourself feeling more anxious during these unusual times?
I really did. And as somebody with an established meditation practice, it was actually strange to feel this anxiety. But I was worried about my mom, who is stuck in New York City. I was worried because the world had shifted all of a sudden, and it ramps your brain. It ramps your brain and body. And we can head into sort of the neuroscience of why it happens. But I was finding myself in anxiety and finding myself needing to turn to the tools that I had always used and built and apply them more regularly. And with that, have been able to come down to a very beautiful and even place.
Oh, that's good, because that's a lot of things to worry about. And you have a little one at home.
Yes, I have an adorable 3-year-old and no nanny, no daycare, no preschool. So life is different, and we all have to figure out how to manage these differences.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's jump in. What are some of the things you want to share with us today?
I think the first place to start is the acknowledgement that stuff is different, and that's okay. Change has its own feeling. When things change, it feels weird. And so if you have a sensation inside you that's strange or odd, that's totally okay. Know that everybody's feeling like that now. that this is a common feeling, and that you can accept what's going on. One of the biggest things I've discovered in my life, really through a deep meditation practice, is the value of acceptance. So you can be in a situation where most of us are in now, stuck in a house with a different work scenario, with a totally different world, and you can fight against it, which is useless because there's nothing you can do, or you can accept. And when you come to acceptance, you free up all of this energy, because all this energy that we're spent fighting against something that doesn't matter, that we can't change, that we can't fix, just releases. And you are just here where you are now. It's like, okay, I'm in my house, I'm with my family, or not. I'm at my house and I'm alone, and this is what it's going to be. And that is okay. And when you recognize it's okay, it's just like, oh, all of the fight that your brain has been trying to create can just dissipate.
And how do you get to that place of it's being okay? Because I know for many people, they're laid off, they're financially stressed out. They might be worried about family members and people who are in, we've got an elderly 96-and-a-half-year-old my father-in-law, who is in another country in a care home, and that country is not anywhere near doing what we're doing here in Canada. And so we're quite terrified that we're not going to get to see him.
So there's this process of watching your emotions that can be very, very difficult. But when you're able to watch your emotions and not get caught up in them, it allows a place of release. So that's sort of the more complicated answer. The simpler answer is, our brain is constantly scanning and looking for problems and wants to make things harder than it is, and wants to keep reminding us where there's a problem. And that's not a bad thing, so long as what you can do is say, hey, there's a problem here, and then you can, work on the thing that you can do to solve it. So, my mom was in New York City. I was incredibly anxious about her, unbelievably anxious. And so I, gave her a list of things that she needed to do. I was able to find her a home to live in that wasn't in a tall apartment tower where she had to go up and down in the elevator. And as soon as we had done the things, it's just like, okay, I will no longer worry, because it doesn't do me any good. So there's this process that our brain has of, we've got a thing inside our head called the amygdala, and it's the thing that's constantly scanning and looking for danger. And it will constantly remind us of when something is dangerous over and over and over and over again. And that's where worry comes from. That's what generates a sensation of anxiety when you have the cortisol and hormones flushing through your body, preparing you to act with that sense of worry that you have. So, our brain is ruminating over and over and over and over. We have another part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is kind of like the parent. It's the thing that can rise up and it can see what's going on. It can make decisions. It can plan and it can organize. When we spend time living in the amygdala, we're living in the place of fear and worry. When we spend time living in the prefrontal cortex, we're living in the place of wisdom, acceptance, organization, planning, attention, etc. And through a meditation practice, what we learn to do is move from living in the amygdala, the place of anxiety, to living in the prefrontal cortex, the place of, calm, centered, focused attention. And that's where we can plan and organize and do the things that we know that we can do. And we can tell the amygdala, it's okay. We've done the things that we can do. It actually doesn't make any sense for you to continue to worry and for you to continue to ruminate. And so with a meditation practice, what you learn to do is observe your thoughts, strengthen your prefrontal cortex, and downregulate your amygdala. And when you practice that, that ultimately leads to the ability to accept where you're at, plan and do the things that you can do, and shut down your amygdala's hyperreaction so it's not over-responding to the things that you can't actually do anything about.
I like that you say it's a practice, because I have a meditation practice, and last night was probably the single worst time that it was absolutely impossible to shut off the brain. And it might have been I was watching too much news, I was overstimulated, I was spent hours on my computer yesterday learning how to do things online in a different way. And I couldn't, I probably was just in the wrong headspace to even try. But I'm glad you said it's a practice, because, the day before was great. Maybe today will be great. It's not that you get better. I don't know. I don't get better and better and better at it consistently. It takes effort and time and energy for me.
It does. It's like going to the gym. It's a thing you do. And the more you do it, the more you have it when you need it. In terms of the racing mind, it's common in these times to have difficulty sleeping and for your mind to be racing. That is really normal. And one thing that I found incredibly valuable is to give my mind permission to sleep, because it feels like it needs to solve something. It wants to be racing because it wants to solve this problem. It wants to keep going on and on and on and saying, all right, there's a thing we need to look at and look at and look at and look at. But continually ruminating about it in the middle of the night absolutely does you no good whatsoever.
Right. I know.
and that's the moment where you can speak not just to the logical part that's like, okay, I want to be asleep, this sucks. You can actually speak to the racing mind. You can speak to the amygdala. You can speak to the thing that's trying to generate this problem state and say, hey, you are allowed to not think about this right now. You are allowed to let this go. This is not serving me at this moment. We're going to put this away. Or here are the two things that we're going to do tomorrow morning to think about it at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. when I have scheduled to think about it. Because you don't need to be thinking about it as you're falling asleep, and you need to be able to give your brain permission to know that.
That's a great tip. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, so there's two tips there. One is talk to your mind and let it know that it doesn't need to be racing right now. You have permission to sleep. You don't need to be doing that. 2, schedule worry time. If you really absolutely feel like you need to worry, put it in your calendar, and then you can be like, nope, I know I will do that later.
And you can do that. That works.
Yeah, you can do that. Now, it depends how strong your relationship is with your own mind. But for a lot of people, it really works. Schedule your worry time. I will worry about it then.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's 2 tips. What else do you have for us?
So sleep is incredibly valuable at this point. And one of the things that we've been working on is a tool called Muse, and it gives you meditations to help you fall asleep and entrainment in your body to help you relax your body and fall asleep. Because there's a sort of feed-forward cycle between the racing mind and the racing body, and you want to be able to intervene on both of them. So throughout the day, you might find that your mind is getting ramped because you are anxious, you're worrying about something. That's the moment when during the day you pull out your meditation practice and you say, okay, I'm going to focus my attention on my breath. I'm going to give my mind permission to not think about this now. And I'm going to focus my attention on my body and breathe deeply. So meditation is 2 components, both of which work really positively, actually 3 components that work positively and synergistically. One is the ability to quiet your mind. So you want to be able to bring your attention to something neutral like your breath. So your mind might be wandering. You're going to say, nope, I'm going to bring my attention back to my breath. I'm going to give myself permission right now to bring my attention back to my breath. 2 is to quiet your body. So to do that, you want to take deep inhalations, and you want your exhale to be longer than your inhalation. So as we inhale, our heart rate increases. As we exhale, our heart rate decreases. And when you spend more time in a decreasing heart rate, you are able to signal to your body that it's relaxation time. So you want to spend more time on your out breath than your in breath, so that you're spending more time in that slowing down heartbeat, which will slow down your whole body. So you want to spend time every day, regularly, just breathing deeply and slowing down your body. Again, giving it permission and letting it know that it's allowed to relax at this moment. It's allowed to let go. You can let go of your muscles, release the tension there. And then as you do this, you are ramping down your physiology. So you're quieting your mind, and then you're quieting your body. Guided meditations are super awesome for this because they can guide you through a 5 or a 10-minute exercise to help you calm your body. With Muse, we just released a set of free guided meditations for anyone dealing with the stress and anxiety of COVID that will just walk you through beautifully how to relax your body in the moment and be where you need to at the end. And then you want to apply these same principles at night when you're going to bed. So you want to actually take the time as you're falling asleep to prepare your body for sleep, to quiet your mind, to focus on your breath, and to relax your body. And again, meditations are beautiful, whether you're just doing a guided meditation to help you fall asleep, and in Muse we have lots of sleep meditations, or you're using a tool like Muse S, which is actually giving you real-time feedback on your brain and body and in training it into sleep. It's a beautiful tool to relax all of your physiology so that you can actually get deeper sleep because you don't have the cortisol rushing through you. And then you can wake up in the morning in a place that is more prepared to deal with the next day, with a body that slept through the night more calmly with a calmer physiology when you wake up.
Now, if somebody doesn't have a Muse, they can find guided meditations on apps and things as well.
For sure. And as I said, we have a free collection of guided meditations specifically to deal with the stress of COVID. So you can find those and utilize them, or there's lots of other sleep apps and meditations as well. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so it's calming down. It's making sure you have some kind of a mindfulness or a meditation practice so that you can rest your body, relax your body, and stop the mind. It's giving your mind permission to not worry. What else have you got for us today?
Yeah, and I want to just harp on the permission point, because your body is trying to convince you that you need to be anxious right now. Your body thinks there's a problem, and so its job is to continue to resurface that problem to you. And so you experience it as racing thoughts and a buzzing body. But you have the opportunity as, a sentient human being with will to step in and say, hey, I know this is a different time. I know things are strange, but I don't actually need to be in this state. It is not helpful to me. It's not serving me. Like, mind, you can calm down. Body, you can let go. Because we get caught up thinking that because our mind and body are acting this way, that it's supposed to be. That's how we're supposed to be feeling. But we actually really have the ability to step in and make a different choice. So that's like part of the biggest key right here. And a great thing that helps you make that different choice and to shift your physiology is gratitude. So there's a ton of research demonstrating how gratitude practices literally rewire our brain towards the positive. So when you're feeling like you're in a state where things are really difficult, immediately switch to gratitude and look for the silver linings. So silver linings might be that you got to spend more time with your family, or that you got to have an awesome call with somebody you haven't spoken to in a long time. I know for me, initially, I got calls from girlfriends I hadn't spoken to in ages who were just checking in on one another. You could look at, how you're better off than someone else. You can look at the ways that the world might change for the better, the recognition of our interconnectedness, the decrease in pollution that we're seeing now as a result of people not driving around, the reduction in consumerism, the ability to have more time on your hands. There are so many silver linings. The readily available online free, gym or dance classes that there now are so that you can exercise in your living room. So taking the time to recognize what you are grateful for begins to shift your mind. And it might be hard, and that's totally okay, but you want to do it regularly. Wake up in the morning with gratitude, go to sleep at night with gratitude, and when you find yourself in the stuck place, switch to gratitude.
I was on a Zoom call yesterday with some people from my community of faith, my church congregation, and we're all scrambling to figure out how to do church in a new way. And a couple of things that have arisen from that are an increase in people phoning each other, and people who maybe only ever said hi in person in church, but have now reached out and had 15, 20-minute phone calls with one another. And one woman was saying she has scheduled her day in hour-long blocks, and an hour for cleaning, and she can't believe how much cleaning she's getting done, an hour for mindfulness and meditation, an hour for gratitude. She's going out for walks and appreciating the birds and the blooms that are coming up. And so I think I'm wondering about, scheduling all of these things into your day as a practice.
Scheduling is huge because the day can be frittered away or the day can be made good use of. Scheduling is a great tool if you have kids right now. Schedule their day so they're not stuck on the tablet. Decide ahead of time the set of activities that they will do throughout the day. Set a timer, and when it changes, do it. That's just the next activity. You can't ask. That's what the schedule is like at school. And with adults as well, scheduling is key. Whether you're actively trying to work from home, in which case you want a clear schedule that is agreed on with everybody else in your family so that the kids aren't interrupting or the husband's not needing you to make lunch right now. It's just we've all agreed this is the schedule. And then you want to make goals within that schedule. So this is my work time and this is what I want to accomplish during my work time. This is my, calling my friends time. This is my gym time. And know that schedule will change and shift. Don't be too upset if it shifts because, of course, these are shifting times. And out for a few days, you're going to recognize what the right rhythm is for you within the schedule. And make sure you schedule in things that are going to be fun for you, like laughter yoga. 6:30 to 7:30, there is a free laughter yoga that a woman named Lynn Himmelman runs. You can join that. I do Gaga dance classes with my mom in the United States. I'm in Canada. And we both Zoom into the same dance class and we put each other on the big screen. So we're pinned to one another's video and we're literally dancing together.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's something that we would have never done before. But, strange times make for creativity. And so I'm, having deeper connections. If you are feeling disconnected, make sure you schedule in time to call people and have a list of activities that you do that are going to make you happy. Like spend the time in advance to sit down and say, here are the 5 things or 3 things I can do when I'm feeling blue. Or at loose ends. I can go for a walk. I can call somebody. I can join, classes at this yoga studio or this gym online. I can make something delicious. Make sure you have those things so as soon as you start to feel your mood go to an uncomfortable place, you can then just go to your go-to list of what do you do to make life better for you.
I know that a lot of people are getting jobs done around their homes that they haven't been able to do before, painting and cleaning out closets and organizing spice drawers and things like that. And I think maybe that's something people feel they can actually have control over, and that has a calming effect when you're finished.
Completely. A sense of accomplishment is huge. So yes, choose something that is a part of the world that you can take control of totally. Organize your spice drawer and enjoy the sense of accomplishment that comes after it. And revel in all of the positive feelings that you have, because those positive feelings are gold. Those are what's going to propel you forward and keep you upbeat day after day. So feel great after you do that spice drawer. Celebrate it. Like give yourself permission to just go, yes, I rocked because I, finally did this thing that's been bugging me for years. Don't berate yourself for not having done it. That's not helpful to you. Do the things that are helpful, which is a celebration of the win.
And for all the people who suddenly find themselves working from home, and some of them with children underfoot, what are some of the things that you can offer to help people who have to keep working in a new way, but at the same time have children involved?
Enjoy it. That's the first thing. So I'm one of those people. I used to have a nanny and a kid that would be taken to the drop-in center or his classes. I no longer have any of those things. I have a 3-year-old at home with me all day while I work. And I found it to be amazing. This has been probably one of the most positive transformational shifts of all of the COVID experience for me. I'm almost going to cry talking about it. What did I do this morning? I got up with him at 7. We cooked breakfast together, which is now something that we've done since we've been home every day. And so he's learning to cook eggs and loving it. We cooked together. Then we went out in the backyard and dug for worms. Then, yeah, really. And for me, I know that, a lot of his time, we do now use the tablet more than I ever thought we ever would. And that's just what needs to happen. but I make sure that we balance it out with getting a lot of exercise in the times when I can. So now, my workday starts later than it used to. It starts at 10 a.m., which is fine, because I know that I can spend good concentrated time with my child. We ran outside. I've gotten more exercise than I'm used to because we had several vigorous games of tag. And I'm feeling healthier than ever as a result of it. Bring him inside. He then has time for a quiet game. Then he has tablet time I know he's going to be getting cranky. Then he has lunch, and I just manage it with his moods. And again, keeping to a strict schedule, not strict, but a schedule in which you're like, nope, well, you can't watch the tablet now because it's not tablet time. Like, let's look at the schedule. It's playing quietly time. And, we've given him the tools that we normally wouldn't have much more leniently because we just have to. Like, he's 3 and he's gotten back on his pacifier, and that's totally fine. If you need to play quietly with your pacifier while I'm on calls, but you feel comforted, let's not have that fight right now. Let's just give you what you need in this moment so that we can all effectively move through the day. And, I can't feel like a bad parent. It just is what it is.
I wonder about people who don't have the option of scheduling their own time. They have to be on a call at this particular time. They have to participate in a meeting at this particular time. And yet, I know there are broadcasters out there with kids running through their houses, and we're hearing the dog bark at the squirrel in the window and stuff, for people who are now recording from home. But what do you say to people who have to be at work at a particular time and aren't able to go with their child's moods or activities?
And I'm in the same boat. I mean, I have things scheduled throughout the day. I was literally on a board call this morning while it was on mute. I was paying attention to it as much as I could, and I was, getting more breakfast on the table because he was hungry. So you just have to roll with what is. Everybody understands where you're at. Everybody understands that we're all in the same scenario, and it honestly is perfectly acceptable right now to be on mute and accomplish the little things that you need to get done in the meantime. If you need to manage your child, that is okay. I also find FaceTime to be invaluable because, maybe you can't have a nanny who's with you or a husband or, the people who are used to entertaining your child, but you can certainly still FaceTime with them. So my 3-year-old has FaceTimes with his best friend. It's the cutest thing in the entire world. And it buys me 45 minutes. Right. And so we set up the computer. He can play. There's a parent on the other side, so there's a certain amount of management. Sometimes there's not. But these times when they figure out independently how to interact with somebody else from a distance who's still keeping an eye on your child is huge. So, make use of bored grandparents, make use of friends who maybe don't have something going on in their life right now or have lost their job, who want to have a virtual date with your child.
I know my eldest daughter and her husband had a board game night with friends virtually. So I don't know if they had the same board game at each place, but they all had their food and their drinks and their snacks, and apparently they had a wonderful time playing games with people virtually through, I don't know what medium they were using, but it sounds like they had a fabulous time. And I thought, wow, that's creative.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, it really is fun. It was amazing for me to watch my kid interact with his friend on FaceTime and show each other their toys. And they both had Lego, so we brought out each of their Lego and let them both play with their Lego independently. And it is what it is. We find silver linings, we find delight, we find moments of joy, we find the messiness of it, and all of it is okay. If you don't resist what's going on and you go with the flow, there's a lot to discover here for us.
Right. Do you have any other tips for us in the list of all the things we can be doing to help ourselves during this pandemic?
Helping others makes us feel great. And so if you're having a difficult time, probably one of the best things you can do for your own mood is to help somebody else. I know in Toronto, I'm part of a group called Caremongering Toronto. It's a Facebook group where people post things that they need. Yesterday, there was a woman who was locked out of her bank account. She had 2 kids and she needed food and money. and other people were vouching for her online. This was not a scam. And so I put aside some money, took some food out of my cupboard. Somebody else on the forum drove by and picked it up from my front porch, totally contactlessly. And everybody in the cycle felt amazing. The act of service is incredibly healthy physiologically and emotionally, and from a social and communal perspective. So if you're having a tough time, as unintuitive as it is, reach out and help someone else. It'll make everyone feel better.
That's a wonderful thought, and I've heard of lots of people doing what they can to help the food banks. And there's a local coffee shop here that has a box outside that you can email or Instagram message them what you want ordered. They'll put it outside for you at a particular time, so it's contactless. You come and get your order, and they've got a big food bank box there collecting food for the food bank, because I know the homeless shelters and the food banks are really challenged at this time without the volunteers and the help that they normally get.
Yeah. So whether it's a food bank or, I'm sure in every community there's a group on Facebook of people who need help, because that personal sense of helping another individual, like reaching out, knowing who they are and doing the thing, is massive. And it's what builds a strong society. When we all come out of this, we're going to be learning some amazing lessons. And there's going to be some positive takeaways, and you have the opportunity to participate and create and shape those through this process.
Right. And let's hope that we remember those lessons and don't just settle right back into how we used to do things.
We can both hope and, continue to take action, take notes, know how things feel, know how you want to interact with one another, know what you want in the world, and act in that way.
Right. So if people want to know more about you, Ariel, where can they find you?
So you can find me at Ariel's Musings and at Choose Muse. You can find Muse at choosemuse.com. And if you want to access the free guided meditations in Muse, you can find them. You go to the Muse app, so Muse Headband app in the App Store on iPhone or Android. And if you're looking for Muse S to help you both meditate and sleep, you can find it on Amazon or on choosemuse.com.
Fabulous. And do you have a last piece of advice for the Careers by Jenn listener today?
So my last piece of advice is to recognize our own humanity. We are capable, phenomenal creatures. And there are times that can feel very hard or trying. And when we recognize our own capabilities, our own humanity, our own resilience, it rises us above the difficulty so that we can find new solutions. We can interact in new ways. We can get creative. So when you're feeling low, remember that in every one of us, there is the ability to do something amazing. And that could just be reaching out to someone in need. That could be just opening your laptop and doing an online workout for yourself in that moment that you haven't done before. You can always make a different choice that will allow you to access a different part of yourself. And you might be amazed at who you become and what you can do.
Thank you for this rich conversation today and for all of the advice that you've offered for us. I think you'll reach out to many people with this. And so thank you today.
Thank you. My sincere pleasure.
Hey friends, so thanks for listening to this conversation with Ariel Garten from Muse. She has given us a special listener discount if you are interested in checking out any of the Muse devices at choosemuse.com. And our Careers by Jenn code to receive 25% off is Muse Stress Less. So it's all one word, and each word is capitalized, no spaces in between. So capital M, then small U-S-E, capital S, small T-R-E-S-S, and capital L, small E-S-S. Muse Stress Less on choosemuse.com. Thank you again. Please stay safe. I hope you are listening to lots of podcasts while you have this time, and that you were able to find some peace of mind
and some rest in this stressful time. Be well.